Let's go ahead and build up the demand side of the market first. So what is demand? Demand is the maximum amount of a product that buyers are willing to purchase over some period at various prices, holding everything else constant. So with demand, you're going to notice that there are two key variables that we have right here. We have the price and we also have the amount of a product. So we are dealing with quantity and prices. And these are the two main variables that we're going to be using to build up our supply and demand model. With demand, the easiest way to think about demand is to ask yourself who's doing the buying or demanding within this particular market. And in most instances, it's going to be people like you and I. So whoever are the consumers in this particular market, they are the ones that are going to be making up the demand side of the market. That's the easiest way for me to sort of say, hey, this is the demand side of the market. There are going to be a few instances where we ourselves don't see ourselves on the demand side of the market, but those are far and few in between. So demand is essentially how much of this particular product that we are going to buy at particular prices, holding every other factor constant. In order for us to derive what the demand curve is actually going to go ahead and look like, we need to introduce another concept known as willingness to pay. So let's go ahead and derive our demand curve. So in order to derive demand, we use a concept known as willingness to pay. Use willingness to pay. And willingness to pay is just basically our idea of what consumers or demanders value a particular good at. So an individual's valuation, valuation of a good or service, and it's going to be equal to the most you are willing and able to pay. Equal to the most an individual is willing and able to pay. Is willing and able to pay. So once again, we need this concept of willingness to pay, which is an individual's valuation of a good or service equal to the most an individual is willing and able to pay. So essentially, it just tells you what is the maximum amount that you would pay for this good here and right now. And with this idea of willingness to pay, we can go ahead and introduce an example in order to see what type of relationship quantity demanded and price is going to have. So let's go ahead and build up this example. So a question I can ask you is, how much would you be willing to pay for a particular good? How much would you be willing to pay for a, say, let's go ahead and give you a specific good, say for a Publix chicken tender sub. Chicken tenders sub. So always a good right here. I could always go for a Publix chicken tender sub. And we want to go ahead and derive our demand curve using this example right here. And let's go ahead and assume that we only have two people within this particular market. So two-person market. And in terms of this two-person market, I can give you these particular numbers right here for person A and person B, and then we can go ahead and derive our demand curve. We have person A, and I'll give you these numbers right here, 13, 9, and then 2. And then we have person B. Yeah, 15, $7, and then $4 right here. And then we have the willingness to pay for each of these subs. So WTP is just shorthand for willingness to pay for their first sub, their second sub, and then their third sub. So what exactly do these numbers tell us? It tells us that person A, in order for person A to get his or her very first sub, they're willing to pay a maximum of $13. In order for person A to get his second sub, after he's gotten his first sub, he's willing to pay a maximum of $9. And once he's gotten his second sub, the most he'd be willing to pay for the third sub, his third sub, is $2. And the same thing for person B. In order for person B to get his very first sub, he's willing to pay up to $15. Once he has his first sub, the most he'd be willing to pay for his second sub is only $7. And then finally here, once he has his second sub, the most he'd be willing to pay for his third sub is $4. So what do you think we have to do with this information right here in order for us to derive our demand curve? So this goes back to our idea of efficiency, primarily allocative efficiency. What did allocative efficiency tell us? It tells us that whoever desires the good the most should be the one that gets this particular good first. So if we include both of these people into a market for these Publix chicken tender sub, who should be getting the very first sub in the market? You would say person B. Person B should get that sub in the market, the very first sub, because he has the highest willingness to pay compared to everybody else. So as we go down this entire process, this is how exactly we're going to be deriving our demand curve. By following the idea of allocative efficiency, whoever desires the good or values the good the most is the one that should get that product and then first and then so on. So here in a general way, we can just go ahead to say that in order for us to derive market demand, in order to derive market demand. So market demand includes everybody within this particular market. Here we're only focusing in on two people. We need to order willingness to pay from highest to lowest. From highest to lowest. And there's going to be a trick right here as we organize it from highest to lowest. So let's go ahead and build up our market demand. So market demand, remember, includes person A and person B. And let's go ahead and see our first four subs. So let's go ahead. First sub on the market, the second sub on the market, the third sub on the market, and then fourth sub on the market. So suppose that there's only one sub in the entire market. And as we said already, who should be getting this particular sub? It would be person B. Person B would be getting this particular sub first because he has the highest willingness to pay. He's willing to pay $15 for this particular sub. So you say, hey, the biggest, highest willingness to pay that I have right here is $15. Person B should get that very first sub in the market. Suppose now that there's a second sub that's going to be provided out into the market. Who should get this sub? Would it be person A or would it be person B? You're going to say person A in this instance, but how much would person A pay for this particular sub? Is it going to be this $13 or is it going to be this $9? In this instance, it's going to be this $13 right here because person A actually hasn't received their first sub yet. So remember, if we want to go ahead and order willingness to pay in order to derive our demand curve, you do need to go ahead and go from the highest number to the next highest number. You just don't want to go ahead straight across and choose the highest numbers that you have in each row because that will quickly lead you down the incorrect path. So if there's a second sub, there's two subs in the market out of the entire person and out of this entire market right here, person A would get that second sub, but it's only person A's first sub that he's actually consuming in this end, if that makes it a little bit clearer. Going along the same methodology, who would get the third sub in the market? The third sub, it would be person A, and how much would person A be paying for it? He'd be paying $9 because here 9 is the next highest number that we have out of all these numbers, so $9 right here. And then if there's only 4 subs in the entire market, who would be getting that fourth sub? It would be person B, and he'd be paying $7, not the $4 that you see right here. So we're comparing the 7 against the 2, and person B would be paying $7. So in this end, this is exactly how we're going to be deriving our market demand. We need to go ahead and order willingness to pay from highest to lowest. And here, this is exactly where we go from the highest number to the next highest number, and then down the line. Do not go straight across and just choose the highest number, say 15, 9, and 4 right here, because that is not how we're going to be correctly deriving market demand. So something just to keep in mind right here. And once we see that we have 4 subs in this entire market, what type of relationship do you see emerging? As we increase the quantity, what's happening to the price? The quantity goes up, the price is going down, and vice versa. If we go ahead and decrease the price, if we increase the price, we go the opposite direction, we notice that the quantity is going down. So there's going to be some type of negative relationship that emerges between quantity demanded and prices. So there is a negative relationship between prices and quantity demanded. Between prices and quantity demanded. And this negative relationship is going to be quite apparent for the vast majority of demand curves that we take a look at throughout this semester. So what exactly does our demand curve look like if we're going to be building up our demand curve? Well, remember we only have 2 variables. we're going to put price on the vertical axis right here, and then we're going to put quantity on the horizontal axis. So what exactly is the relationship? What should our demand curve look like? If there's a negative relationship, our demand curve is going to be a downward sloping line. So here, our demand curve, we label D right here for demand. We notice that as price goes up, quantity demanded is going to go down and vice versa. So here, this is a very high price. We hit the demand curve right here. And this is going to be a relatively low quantity demanded. We can label this if we want it. So P0 and Q0. So high price, relatively low quantity demanded. But if we lower the price, we go all the way down here. We can say this is P1. We notice that quantity demanded is quite high. So here, anytime we want to read a price and quantity combination, we go straight to our demand curve in this instance. And this is once again just a Cartesian plane. Numbers get higher as we go further away from the origin. So P1 and Q1, P1 is relatively small, Q1 is relatively large based on the number line. So with all of this, let's go ahead and give you just a few specific numbers just to make sure that you get a better idea of this negative relationship with the demand curve. So demand, we basically have some type of numbers that are being provided to you right here. We have price and quantity combination right here. We have price on the vertical axis. We have quantity on the horizontal axis. And what do you do with this? All you need to go ahead and do is plot all of these points. So with a price of 100, the quantity is equal to 0. That point is going to go exactly right there. And then continue on with all the other price and quantity combinations. At $80, it's going to be quantity of 5. You put that point right there. 60 and 10 is right here. 40 and 15, 20 and 20. And then you connect the dots, our final step, our favorite step. And once you connect those dots, that becomes our demand curve. So no matter where we are on the demand curve, you are always going to have a price and quantity demanded combination. So here, just go straight to the demand curve. You can read price off of the vertical axis, and you can read quantity off of the horizontal axis. Very easy to read demand curves. And with all of this, this negative relationship between price and quantity demanded, this downward sloping line, the special name that we give to that is known as the law of demand. So as price increases, quantity demanded is going to fall, and as price decreases, quantity demanded is going to rise, holding everything else constant. So remember, we're keeping this ceteris paribus assumption in mind. So essentially, this negative relationship is the law of demand in action. It works both ways. And with all of this, we do notice that, hey, this does make economic sense for us because consumers can afford more goods when prices are lower. When prices are very, very low, as we have in this instance, we notice that we probably are going to go ahead and buy more of this particular good, whatever it may be. But when prices are very, very high, we're not going to demand as much, so our quantity demanded is relatively low. So essentially, this is the law of demand in action, a negative relationship between price and quantity demanded. And we'll go ahead and build up our market demand curve and see exactly what's going to shift our demand curves in the next few lectures. See you guys there.